Before poems were books, they were breath. Before pages, they were voices leaning into firelight, trying to name love, loss, fear, and wonder. Today we're stepping into the poems that refused to disappear, the ones readers kept passing hand to hand, heart to heart. This is Text and Voice, and if you love poetry, you're already home. Let's begin with the book that didn't just enter literature. It blew the doors off. Leaves of Grass by Walt Whitman, first published in 1855, feels like one long, ecstatic exhale. Whitman writes the self as vast and holy, celebrating bodies, laborers, lovers, grass, cities, everything. There's no polite distance here. He reaches out and grabs the reader by the collar and says, "You are part of this." The lessons are radical even now. Your existence is worthy of song, and poetry doesn't need to shrink to fit rules. Readers praise its boldness and life force, while critics, especially early ones, called it chaotic, obscene, and undisciplined. That friction is exactly why it still feels alive. It refuses to behave. Then the volume drops, but the intensity somehow spikes. The Complete Poems of Emily Dickinson by Emily Dickinson, published posthumously in 1890, proves that a whisper can echo louder than a shout. Her poems feel like private thoughts caught mid-breath, death leaning over shoulder, faith cracking, love both tender and terrifying. She teaches us that compression is power. You don't explain the mystery, you circle it. Readers adore her precision and emotional honesty. Critics sometimes complain about her dashes, fragments, and refusal to clarify. But that ambiguity is the doorway. Dickinson doesn't tell you what to think. She hands you the silence and lets it work on you. Now the ground fractures. The Wasteland and Other Poems by T.S. Eliot, published in 1922, reads like a civilization talking to itself after a breakdown. Voices overlap, time collapses, meaning splinters. It's disorienting because the world it reflects was disoriented. Post-war, spiritually exhausted, culturally fragmented. The lesson here is uncomfortable but necessary. Art doesn't owe us comfort. Sometimes it mirrors the damage. Admirers call it revolutionary and intellectually fearless. Critics argue it's dense, elitist, and hostile to casual readers. Both sides are right, and that tension is the work. If you're feeling this already, subscribe, like, and stay with Text and Voice. Drop the poem that cracked you open the first time you read it. Let's talk in the comments. From modern fracture, we move to ancient fury. The Iliad by Homer, traditionally dated to the 8th century BCE, is rage shaped into verse. Achilles isn't a hero you admire. He's one you study. Pride, grief, honor, violence, consequence. Every emotion burns hot. The lesson is harsh and timeless. Unchecked ego costs lives, including your own peace. Readers respect its emotional gravity and mythic scale. Critics note its relentless violence and repetition. But repetition here is ritual. It drives the cost of anger into memory. The long road home follows. The Odyssey, also attributed to Homer in the same era, shifts the focus from rage to endurance. Odysseus survives monsters, gods, temptation, and time itself. But survival demands compromise, cleverness, and restraint. The lesson is subtle. Strength alone won't save you. Adaptability will. Readers love its adventure and emotional payoff, while critics sometimes call it sprawling or episodic. But that wandering mirrors life. Progress is rarely straight. From wandering seas to moral architecture, Divine Comedy by Dante Alighieri, published around 1320, turns poetry into a map of the soul. Hell, purgatory, paradise. Each realm is structured, intentional, and unforgiving. The lesson is accountability. Choices matter, and meaning is built step by step. Readers praise its imagination and cosmic ambition. Critics point to its density and historical specificity. Still, its moral clarity continues to pull readers through centuries. If one of these books just climbed your reading list, share this with a fellow poetry lover or someone who thinks poetry isn't for them yet. Then comes Rebellion Wrapped in Music. Paradise Lost by John Milton, published in 1667, retells the fall of humanity with terrifying eloquence. Satan speaks beautifully, and that's the danger. The lesson is sharp. Persuasion without humility can masquerade as heroism. Readers admire its ambition and language. Critics argue over whether Milton made Satan too compelling. That argument is the heartbeat of the poem. In contrast, intimacy takes center stage with the Sonnets by William Shakespeare, published in 1609. These poems wrestle with love, time, jealousy, beauty, decay, sometimes tender, sometimes bitter, always honest. The lesson here is emotional courage. Love isn't pure or polite, but it's real. Readers treasure their music and insight. Critics note repetition, but obsession repeats, it circles. And Shakespeare knew that. Then Lightning, Ariel by Sylvia Plath, published in 1965, explodes with intensity. These poems confront identity, rage, rebirth, and pain without apology. The lesson is confrontation. Naming darkness can be an act of power. Readers call it electrifying and raw. Critics worry about its emotional extremity and biographical readings. But the honesty is what endures. Quick check. Who's your poet so far? Drop the name below. Let's see where this room leans. Finally, Global Lyric Fire in Selected Poems by Pablo Neruda, spanning works mainly from 1924 to 1959. Love poems that ache, political poems that burn, surreal images that linger. The lesson is range. Tenderness and fury don't cancel each other. They sharpen each other. Readers adore his sensual language. Critics grapple with his politics and personal contradictions. That tension is part of the legacy. Poetry lasts because people keep finding themselves inside it, at different ages, in different moods, under different skies. If one of these books whispered your name, follow text and voice. We'll keep listening together.